Samantha Noble is Director of Strategy at Kusai, and she was appointed Search Personality of the Year in the UK last year. She will guide us through all this information and show us how to use it. Welcome, Samantha Noble.
Okay, thanks ever so much for having me today. I've worked in marketing for around 12 years now, and I think going back to when I first started, we had so little data on our audience and who our customers are, that it was quite challenging. It was quite a kind of a needle in a haystack approach when you're trying to work out who it is that you're trying to reach. But as we flash forward a few years, and we go back to, say, 2-3 years ago, all of the different platforms that we have available to us now give us so much data. And what I want to do today is talk to you about some of the platforms that we use at Kusai to try and understand who our audience are for all our customers, and how we can use that data, not just within paid media, but across all of the different channels that we use. So businesses today, you think how many businesses there are in all the different industries and all the different sectors that we use. And we're constantly trying to strive to find out what's our USP, what's our unique selling point, which I think is still really, really important. But for me, the one thing that we need to start focusing on is our UMP. That's our unique marketing point. What is your unique marketing point? Your unique marketing point is your data. So the amount of data that you can consume about your audiences, whether that's your consumers, your customers, your website traffic, your audience is a UMP. If we think how much businesses actually spend on trying to market themselves every single year to try and grow traffic through to their websites, it's significant, right? But I think as businesses and as advertisers, we don't spend enough time really trying to understand who we're trying to reach and what we can do with that data. We get so much data collected about that audience every single day. And if you think of the average conversion rate of a customer, of a website, this is a study that was done by a company over in the States called WordStream, and they looked at the average conversion rate for AdWords, so AdWords PPC campaigns. And on average, we're looking around a 2% conversion rate of all your website traffic that comes through to the site. And what people sit there and think, oh, fantastic, we've increased our conversion rate by 0.1%. Yeah, that's great, but what about the other 98% of that traffic? There's a huge amount of data sat there that we're just not really paying attention to. We're focusing so much on converting that 2% of traffic, but ignoring the rest of the data. And this is where you can win, right? If you really, really know who the traffic is that's coming through to your site, you can use that to your advantage. If you start understanding who your audience are, this is the key to marketing success. And it should be the foundation of every single inbound marketing strategy that you employ. You need to understand who you're trying to reach in order to really capitalize on that consumer and make the most of that. And once you do that, and you can understand all this data, and we can take all of these points of visitors that are coming through or our customer base, you can take all this data, you can really start to understand who you're trying to reach, and you can apply that across every single marketing channel. So we need to start using our data to our advantage. That's your UMP, your unique marketing point. It's something that your competitors can't copy. All the traffic that's coming into your site belongs to you. Your customer data belongs to you. Your audience, your competitors can't copy what you're trying to do there. That absolutely is yours. That's unique to you. So for the next few slides, we're going to look at how we can use this data and the types of data that we can get and how we can apply that to all our different marketing campaigns. So to start with, we need to understand where we get this data from and how we uncover that audience. And these are just a few of the platforms that you can use. So there's Google, there's Bing, there's AdWords, there's Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Stacks of platforms give us freely all this data about our audience. So the number one tip even if you're not looking to do PPC across any of the channels, is to create an account and advertise an account on all these different platforms, take the pixel and place that on every single page of your website so that you can start collecting the data. Even if you don't want to advertise on the platform, they give you this data for free. You don't have to be spending money with these platforms in order to consume this data. Now, if you do this, you need to make sure that you're updating the privacy policy on your website. So you need to be able to tell consumers what you're doing with their data, how you're basically going to use that to market to people. And you need to explicitly explain every single platform that you're using. Every pixel that's coming into your site needs to sit in the remarketing, in the privacy policy, and tell people how you're using that. But once you've got these pixels in place, this is the sort of data that you can look at. So you can start to understand data about your website audience, your actual customer base, which we'll look at towards the end. So you can take CRM databases, upload this data into platforms, they give you a wealth of information about your customers. But you can also, in a lot of the platforms, find audiences that are similar to your audience. So not just trying to understand who you're trying to reach, but look at who you're trying to reach and build out lookalike or similar audiences to the people that are in your database as it stands. So as I say, there's lots of different platforms that give you all this. We have only got half an hour today, so we're just going to focus on these. We're going to look at Google Analytics, we're going to look at Bing, Facebook, and Instagram. So let's start with looking at what we can get about our actual website audience, and we'll start with looking at Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics give us a lot of insight about visitors and how they navigate through the site and the types of content that they consume. But what a lot of people don't realize, they also give us a lot of demographic information. They also give us a lot of information about the types of content that our consumers browse across other websites. And this insight is available for every single visitor to your site, regardless of how they reached your website. If you don't enable this, you don't get the data. So within the Audiences tab in Google Analytics, you need to click in here and click into any of the demographic reports. And if you haven't got this enabled, it will basically come up with this thing at the top there that says, enable this data. Once you enable this, you need to make sure that you've updated your privacy policy. So I would do the privacy policy before you do anything else, just so that you're being explicit on how you are collecting that data. But once you've done this, it then starts to collate. And we can start to see things like this. So we can see age and gender makeup. So if you're running an e-com business or a lead gen business, you can start to see this data broken down by the amount of traffic that's coming through to your site, or you can sort that by revenue generated, leads generated, conversion rate, to try and understand, okay, what age groups do my consumers fall into, and what gender are they? Affinity categories is giving you the insight into the types of content that your consumers, your website visitors, consume across all the different websites across the internet. So Google will tell you this information. So in here, we can see we've got this particular audience are into movies and TV. But this sort of insight is really good to understand across all different channels that you're trying to market. Google also tell us the types of products and services that our consumers are in market for. So the types of things that they actually buy online as well. So not just the types of content they browse, the things that they actually purchase. So you can see things like, are they in market for a new job, a new car, a new house? Are they in market for a holiday? Again, you're starting to build up a picture of who your website audience are. And then once you collate all that information, you can say, right, okay, top level, we've got male, age 35 to 44, into movies, TV, in market for hotel, accommodations, employment and travel, and this particular location, they're living in London. So it gives you a bit of an insight into that consumer. But what you can do, so this is great to see your entire website audience, but that's so broad. So what you can do is you can actually create specific segments in Google Analytics and see this data for a particular audience set that you've created. So some examples of audience segments that you can create. You could do all website visitors, which is interesting but not too useful. You could create a list of all of your converting customers. You could segment your site into key products or services that you do and say, right, okay, let's say, for example, that we sold product X and product Y. What do the audience demographics look like for these two different products that people are purchasing? So you can do lots of different things and really start to hone in and understand different segments of your audience and how they look in terms of demographic, content that they browse, and things that they purchase. And the reason it's important to segment the data is you can start to see, in this example here, paid traffic from AdWords versus Facebook traffic. And the bits in green are the bits where we've got differences. So if you're looking to run a marketing campaign on Facebook, or you're looking to run a marketing campaign on AdWords, you want to try and tailor that messaging differently, because you're trying to tap into a slightly different audience who tick different boxes when it comes to things that they like and things that they consume. So it's important to pay attention to different channels, different segments, so that when you're putting together marketing campaigns, you're using this data to your advantage. Now, if we flash over to Facebook and Instagram, so Facebook and Instagram are obviously the same product. They offer the same targeting methods, and it's just the one pixel that you put on the site. They give us so much data. Now, I read a study on Facebook about 3 years ago that said Facebook actually know if you are going to be splitting up with your partner before you do, because of the sentiment of how you're writing updates on Facebook, the types of things that you share, who you engage with. So that they know so much information. And as advertisers, I think we need to try and take advantage of that as much as possible. So if you get the Facebook pixel and you put that on your website, whenever anybody is logged into Facebook and they visit your site, you get access to lots and lots of data that Facebook give you. So here's some examples. So we can see the standard age and gender that we see across most of the other platforms anyway. But we can also see the types of sectors that this audience are likely to work in. Personal insights such as relationship status and education level, the devices that they use, and the platforms that they use. Again, Facebook give us the types of content that these consumers browse and the types of content that they like. So in this example here, we can see like this audience like the movie character Dory. They like eating pizza. So again, starting to build up more insight into a particular audience that's coming into your site. You can see the common trends in terms of Facebook pages that your consumers like. Start to understand the lifestyles that they lead. Now, these examples here are quite confusing, but if you hover over any of the question marks, Facebook tell you what they mean by this particular segment of audience. And then you can also see the standard stuff, so the location, city, and also language that they're using. Now, if you're based in the US, or you're actually targeting people that are in the US, you can see this data as well. So you can start to see in-market data. So you can see like purchase insights. How much do they spend in retail? What sort of products are they looking to buy? What sort of car are they in market for? All sorts of data. And you can also see in the US, household income. You can see spending methods. It's like Facebook give us so much data about our consumers, and I just don't feel that we're really fully using this to our advantage. Now again, if we collate all of this insight, you can build up a real nice picture of who it is that you're trying to market to. So we're just taking all of this, we're taking the top key segments from each of the different reports that Facebook give us, and we build out this kind of understanding of who that particular segment of visitors to our website are. Now, as with Google Analytics, in Facebook, you can also create segments of audiences. So rather than just creating, let's just see all website visitors coming through to the site, you can break that down further. So you can start to see things like product segmentation, site segmentation. You can look at people that spend a certain amount of time on your website. Your page likes, they give you insight into that audience as well. You can see insights into people that have actually interacted with content on Facebook. So again, I would recommend that you hone in and really break down lists so that they're a lot smaller to try and understand who that particular audience are. Now, if you take this example like with IKEA, so IKEA sell lots of different products. But if somebody's in market and they're interested in, say, maybe buying some bedroom furniture versus kitchen furniture, how do those two audiences differ? So you can build out lists, as I say, of different segments on a site, and then try and marry those two together so that if you're trying to do a bit of a push for a kitchen product or a bedroom product, you can use that insight to say, right, okay, well, the people that actually land on our website and consume this type of content, what's their audience demographics look like, what sort of things are they into, and how can we use that across our marketing channels? Now, Bing's a little bit different. So Bing gives us some standard stuff like your age and gender and things like that in terms of the traffic that's coming through on a Bing Ads campaign. But a product that Bing launched a few years back is called the Bing Ads Intelligence Tool. Now, this is an Excel plugin that anybody can download. It's free to download. And it gives us some really cool features. So we can do a load of keyword research, and we can start to understand types of content and keywords that people are actually targeting. But one of the cool things that you can do with the Bing Ads Intelligence Tool is you can start to understand an audience demographic profile for groups of keywords across the entire location that you're targeting. So if you were to upload a list of keywords, they would start to give you insight into keywords for a particular location, not just the audience that come through to your site. It's across that entire location. So let's look at some examples here. So we can download the tool here. So if you just Google Bing Ads Intelligence Tool, that one pops up. As I say, Excel plugin just sits in your browser. And once you've done that, you'll see this appear in your toolbar. So at the top, you've got the Bing Ads Intelligence toolbar there, and then these are the key reports that I tend to look at and what they're really good for. But when we're looking at audience data, the one that's my favorite is things to do with gender. So if we pop in some keywords, so you can either import a list of keywords into the tool, or you can just free type them. So in this example here, I've taken some sort of insurance-y finance type terms. You pop those in there, and then it can give you a keyword suggestions report, so it can show you the types of keywords that are related to that. The age and gender report will show you for that group of keywords, broken down by keyword, the age and gender breakdown for that particular keyword, so that you can say, right, I'm a brand and I'm selling car insurance. How does that compare against my data? Because you might be looking at your data in Facebook and saying, well, typically my consumers are aged between 25 and 35 and they're male. But if you look at the Bing data, that might tell you otherwise across the entire UK or Swedish marketplace. So you can see this data broken down really nicely. There's also a load of other templates, freely available templates that you can run just off the back of using the keywords and start to see data on certain keyword sets that you've put into there as well. So the important thing to remember on this one is this tool does not just look at your own data, it looks at the entire country or entire location that you're trying to target. So it's great for benchmarking against your actual data. Right, so that's about how we can look at website visitors. Now if we move on to your actual customer base, so these platforms here will allow you to upload lists of your own CRM database. So whether that's consumers, people that have purchased from you in the past, whether it's prospects, whether it's people that have downloaded certain bits of content on your site, take that CRM database and you can upload it into these different platforms. Once we upload the lists, you need to match around 1,000 email addresses. So if you take an email database of, say, 2,000, you upload that into Facebook. Facebook go through and take every single email address in that database, and they try and match it up with their database. If they can match it, you start to get insight on that. Just to give you an idea of how often and how frequently these email addresses get matched. So there was a study done last year where WordStream uploaded over 360,000 email addresses into Facebook, AdWords, and Twitter. Google were able to actually match just over 50% of email addresses. So it just gives you an idea of how much email data they've got on consumers that you upload. Facebook slightly less, with around 49%, and Twitter about 10%. But once you do this, you can get all of that insight that we've looked at previous for a specific email list. So if you've got lots and lots of email data, you can segment that to your heart's content. You can break that down into different locations, different services, different products that have been bought, times that they purchase. So to consumers that buy from you in January, how does that data compare with somebody that buys from you in April? If you're looking to try and do a marketing campaign in September, who is it that I'm trying to reach? Because you know data for that particular audience. So you can take all that insight and use that to your advantage. And then finally, similar audiences. So all of the different lists that we've uploaded, all of the different campaigns that we've created, all of the different audiences that we've segmented, these platforms will take that data and they will build you a lookalike audience. So Facebook were the first to do this a few years back, and they called it a lookalike audience. Google then came next with similar audience, and Pinterest, tail end of last year, came out with act-alike audiences. So you can upload all these lists, and then they will build somebody that looks similar to the demographic makeup of that particular list. So all the platforms take the data such as the age, the demographics, the locations, the type of content they browse, the devices that they use, all of this information about a particular list, and they build you a new one so that you can market to an entirely new audience that are new to brand, so they don't know who you are. But you know that they've got a higher propensity to buy because they've got a similar demographic makeup to the people that have purchased from you previously. And, above all, we get all of the insights for those particular lists that we've seen to date as well. So once we've done this, trying to pull all of that data together and apply it across all our different marketing channels. So a lot of the talks that I tend to do tend to be around paid media, and I wanted to try and put something together for you guys that it's not just about using this data within your PPC campaigns. It's about how you can use this across all the different multi-channels that you're trying to target people with. So, this is an example where I've collated all of the data from all of the different channels that we can get access to. So Twitter's also in here because Twitter give us some insight into consumers as well, not a huge amount. But here we can see a life insurance brand for their website visitors, and we can see the types of things. So we've built up a bit of a kind of a persona about who this audience are. And you can start to pick key things out of this. So let's say, for example, I wanted to run a TV ad campaign. I know that this particular audience, if I'm looking to market to them, they love Vampire Diaries and they love Grey's Anatomy. So if I'm looking to do some form of TV advertising, surely it would make sense to place the TV advert during these particular shows, or in and around these particular shows. They're also into gaming, and things like Xbox allow you to place adverts within the platform. So if you know that your consumers are playing Xbox, what other better place is there to kind of place an ad? You know that you're going to try and tap into them when they're kind of using a console that they enjoy and that they love. When it comes to digital PR, again, you can understand the types of consumers that we're trying to market to, and we know that this audience had an affinity with cooking. So why not place things on maybe like the Good Food website? Something that you know your consumers are going to be browsing. And then similarly with offline PR, they love travel. So why don't we do this? We know that they're into the National Geographic site and they have an offline publication. So you can use that data and place adverts within this particular magazine. Any forms of content marketing. If we know that our consumers are into cooking, and they're also female in this example, so why don't we do something around kind of play on that, where we can do something like, I don't know, the female chefs of the ages or something. But again, trying to use the data to pull it in and try and market people within the different channels that you're offering. This example here, because it was a UK site, that we know that they live in the Reading area of the UK. So we could always partner with a local radio station within that particular area. From an SEO perspective, we often say, like, where should we focus our attention first, especially if you've got a huge site? We know that the bulk of the traffic and the bulk of the people that are buying from us consume the content on a mobile. So focus mobile first, rather than trying to optimize the entire site. Make sure that that experience for that particular customer is mobile first, because you know that's where you're going to get your quicker wins. When it comes to email, is there a way that you can partner with a specific email channel or buy a specific email list that's relevant to the audience that you're trying to target? And back to the old traditional direct mail, because it still works, people are still using it. Focus on marketing to people within an area that you know your consumers are living in, and target households that have got females, because that's who you're trying to reach. So I think above everything, we just need to stop thinking about marketing to the masses and take the data that we've got and use it to our advantage. As with everything, and because I love paid media, you can obviously use all of this insight and all this targeting within your paid media campaigns as well. So this is where it becomes particularly powerful, because all these platforms are giving you this data, which means that you can then segment and start targeting individual specific groups of people to try and really drive conversions for your business. So final 2 tips. remember your UMP, your unique marketing point, and get all of the different pixels added to your websites today and start collecting that data. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha.
You're welcome.
This is
Thank
like
you.
a treasure waiting out there for us to find. It's like Christmas Eve.
It's great.
But I was thinking of something, because this is information that because we are all users as well.
Yep.
So this is information that we know it's there out about us information. Do you think there will be a point where when customers say, oh, stop collecting all this information about me, stop using all this information about me?
I think so. I think it depends who you speak to. So if I speak to my mum and my dad and sort of people that I meet that are outside of this industry, like, they don't even realize still that Facebook have ads or that Google have ads. There was a study done on e-consultancy about 3 years ago where they surveyed over 5,000 people, and 36% of those didn't even realize that Google had ads.
Yeah.
So I think we're probably a way off for people to start thinking, stop using this data. But I also think the data that we're collecting on people is actually helping to make their experience better, right? So if you're using the data in a positive way to serve them ads that are targeted to them, that's going to help them get to their end result of whatever they're trying to purchase or browse, I think it should be seen in a positive light rather than a negative.
Yeah.
But I think we're a long way off people saying stop at the moment.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Hello? Okay, sorry. Okay, yes, someone from the audience was asking that when all these online marketing and data analyst tools are becoming so complex, what skills will actually be fundamental for marketers going forward?
Good question.
Yes,
I think for me, the number one skill that I think any marketer needs to have is being able to use an Excel spreadsheet. Right?
Good start.
That is absolutely key. You speak to so many people that are still not actually using Excel to its full potential. And I think because of the amount of data that we can get off of these different platforms and being able to import that into Excel and being able to actually manipulate and understand the data better, I think Excel would be the number one tool that I'd recommend people use.
Yeah. And then what do you need to be like expert in analytics, doing...
I think, again, for the stuff that I've spoken about today, no. I think anybody can start to dig in and start looking at this insight. I think there's obviously analysts out there if you're looking at large data sets, but if you're just looking to try and understand who your audience are, like, these graphs are really easy to understand, so I don't think you need any core skills for this. I just think you need to make sure that you're dedicating the time and resource to really understand where these reports are and actually using that within all your different campaigns, rather than trying to focus on passing it over to somebody that's got a real analytical background.
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, one more. I was wondering if with all this data that's out there, do you still think that there's room for just listening to your gut feeling and being creative when doing marketing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you need to look at this data and take stuff kind of with a pinch of salt. If you know that you're a car insurance brand that only focusing on sort of female car insurance, and you're seeing that you're getting a lot of men coming into the website, like, you know that your core audience that you're trying to market to should be female. So I think, yeah, you absolutely need to have common sense in what you're looking at as well, but use these platforms to kind of harness and give you that extra insight that you don't necessarily know about your consumers as well.
When companies use this, what's the biggest mistake they usually do?
Not telling people how they're using the data on the privacy policy. Number one, it's different countries have different laws on that. So if you're upfront and it's kind of explicit on how you're collecting data, I think that's where you can't go wrong. It's really important to put that in. And I think there's so many websites that don't do that. So that's definitely number one tip for me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you very much. Thank you.